All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Protect PT February Lunch and Learn. Sorry, we're a few minutes late. We were dealing with some tech stuff. But today we are joined by the Southwestern PA Municipal Project Hub. We are joined by Eric Macdangdang and Jeremiah Davis. And without further ado, I'm going to just read out some quick bios and then we can get going with the presentation. For Eric, Eric is driven by the belief that all issues are connected and everyone deserves a stake in shaping their future. Eric partners with local governments, community-based organizations, and nonprofits to help turn their investment-worthy visions into investment-ready projects. He knows that the success of any project depends on strong community engagement that centers lived experiences and moves at the speed of trust. Eric grew up just outside of Pittsburgh in Kennedy Township. He completed his BA in Urban Studies and History and Philosophy of Science from the University of Pittsburgh with a certificate in Community Health Assessment. He then completed his Master's of Public Administration degree from Pitt's Graduate School of Public and International Affairs. And Eric loves to cook and eat and explore different parts of town and constantly reorganize his apartment. And for Jeremiah, Jeremiah is the Justice 40 Community Coordinator at the Southwestern Pennsylvania Municipal Project Hub as an Energy Communities Vista Fellow. He was driven to service because of a strong belief in equitable community development to address long-standing social, economic, and environmental justice concerns. He recently worked briefly in corporate at NGen Highmark's Health's tech company as a rotational project management associate before getting reeled back into public service. He has previously interned with the City of Pittsburgh Department of City Planning, Pittsburgh City Council in the Office of Councilman Lavelle, and Allegheny County Department of Human Services. Born, raised, and educated in Pittsburgh's East End, he graduated from Chatham University with a Bachelor's of Arts in Community Development. Jeremiah is a huge fan of Star Trek and anime and enjoys drawing and painting and spending time with his family. All right, so thank you, Eric and Jeremiah, for being here with us today. And so we're going to talk about what the hub can do and how you guys can help out with some, community sustainability projects for communities that are interested. So, Emily, if you'd like to progress through the slides, that would be lovely. And you two can go ahead and take it away whenever you're ready.
Wonderful. Thank you. First of all, can you hear me?
Yep.
Wonderful. And second off, the screen is being shared. I can't see the screen share right now on my end, but I just want to make sure that folks can see it.
I know streaming they can see it, but if you can't see it,
That's totally fine. I have the slide deck. I just wanted to make sure that folks who are tuning in can see it.
Gotcha.
All right. You good to go?
Yeah, all
Awesome.
good.
Thank you, Natalie, and thank you, Emily, for inviting us to join your Lunch and Learn this month. As Natalie said, I'm Eric Macdangdang. I serve as the Director of Collaboration and Connectivity at the Southwest PA Municipal Project Hub. And I will hand it to Jeremiah to introduce himself.
Yeah, thank you so much, Natalie, and Protect PT for the invitation. We greatly appreciate it. Like Eric said, I'm Jeremiah Davis. I'm the Community Coordinator here at the Hub, and I assist with research and outreach. So I'm excited to be here today.
And again, I can't see the slides, but if we could get to the persistent problem slide deck or slide.
Yep, Emily just clicked to it.
Got it. Awesome. There's Jeremiah and myself, but there's also Megan, Emily, and Sarah who are also on our team that kind of round out the hub here. Before we kind of dive into what the hub is and what we do, I just kind of wanted to, set the stage with the kind of reasoning and the challenges that kind of prompted our launch. And that is that as a region, southwestern Pennsylvania is very fragmented. I know, many people know that we are kind of cut up in many different ways across political, jurisdictional, and geographic lines. The 10 county Southwest PA region has 550 ish municipalities, over 120 school districts, a multitude of nonprofits, and other sort of authorities and districts as well. And because of all this fragmentation and, years and years of historic disinvestment, depopulation, and what have you, many communities in our backyard face really critical capacity gaps. They want to see good projects happen. They want to see things move forward, but they are chronically under resourced and overburdened, just trying to keep the lights on, or trying to do the essentials first, and that often kind of precludes people from being able to really invest their time in really transformative projects. And it's also kind of difficult to navigate what's out there. There are several scales of government. There's the private sector, the foundation community. Opportunities and priorities come and go. We're feeling that very acutely with the changing of the federal administration, just trying to juggle what's happening, what's not happening, and what are the opportunities that are most relevant for you as a community. I just wanted to highlight this one quote that we got from an elected official down in Fayette County saying, they're tired of being invisible. These are people who are, working on the ground, trying to uplift the values and the concerns of their constituents, their neighbors, and oftentimes what they need is that spark of support, and that's where the hub comes in. So, with that, next slide. All right. And so about the hub, we are a regional technical assistance organization that helps communities, and by communities we mean municipalities, nonprofits, school districts in the 10 county region, coordinate, leverage and access different forms of funding and investments so that they could coordinate, and such that we could coordinate no cost technical assistance that they need to conceptualize, fund, and ultimately implement sustainable economic and community development projects. As an organization, we are funded philanthropically, and we are housed underneath the Community Foundation of the Alleghenies. And as you can see on the right side there, we cover the 10 county region, so you could read the 10 counties there. But if you work, play, or otherwise reside in the region, we are here to help. Next slide.
Yeah, so here at the Hub, we have three main goals that we're striving towards to create a resilient and well resourced southwestern Pennsylvania. The first goal that our first goal is to maximize investment. So that supports the economic vitality and the climate readiness of our communities' well-being across southwestern PA, and especially in communities that are long time underinvestment and disadvantage. Our second goal is to close capacity gaps. As Eric was mentioning, many of our communities are just trying to keep the lights on. And so, in order to capitalize on funding, to move on project development, we try to rapidly coordinate funding and technical assistance expertise and services to the communities on the ground for the organizations, school districts, municipalities during these projects. And they may need some help. And by technical assistance, we mean grant writers and engineers and different contractors to actually transform the idea into our actual reality. And our last goal is to catalyze shared success, right? Because our region is so fragmented, right, we really need to bring people together to see a vision of what would a thriving, resilient Southwestern PA look like. And so we do that by fostering accountable and trusting relationships across communities and sectors, and build a collective understanding of the regional reinvestment barriers and opportunities. So trying to understand, right, that shared vision, shared challenges, so we can overcome that, so we can build our great communities across the region. And I'm going to pass it over to Eric.
Thank you, Jeremiah. So, to achieve those goals that Jeremiah just laid out, we offer two main types of services that we can put into two buckets. First, we offer no cost, underlined, bold, italicized, no cost, technical assistance to help project teams really develop and fund their work. As Jeremiah touched upon, by technical assistance, we mean services that help project teams develop more effective and competitive projects. So that could mean feasibility assessments, legal and tax advice, grant writing, energy audits, community engagement design, and more. Depending on the service, we may offer this in house as a team, or we connect folks to contractors. We like to call them our wonderful bench of technical assistance providers that have expertise in specific agencies, specific sectors, specific issue areas. Either way, the services are free to the project teams. We don't charge, we cover the costs. And then second, we offer assistance with funding navigation. Our team closely monitors and tracks competitive local, state, and federal grant programs so we can advise on which opportunities might be the best fit for your work. And we could likewise help you identify other financing opportunities like clean energy tax credits or low interest green bank loans. And from identifying these opportunities to advising on how to combine them, we're here to help you really fund your work in a really dynamic way. That next slide. So, if you're wondering how to get connected with us and get support for your project, here's a quick overview on how you can partner with us. So the first step is to navigate to our online project intake form, which you could find at swpahub.org. You could scan the QR code. Be sure to share it out afterwards as well. This is the best and first step to reach out to us to let us know who you are, the project you're working on, and what type of assistance you might need with it. A few things to note: the form is really quick and easy to fill out. It's contact information, basic project information. It's designed to be about 5 minutes for you to get through, and it's supposed to start that conversation. It's okay to fill out the form regardless of what stage your project is in. You know, we get folks who are like, we have an idea, and then we have people who come to us with kind of a fully designed project that might just need a little bit of support or review to get it across the finish line, whether that's a grant application or what have you. We have and continue to receive intakes from people at all of these stages who just might need assistance with scoping and doing their due diligence. Some people just might need a letter of support. So again, just to reaffirm, we're here at all stages. So after we receive your intake form, our team will review and set up a meeting with you to discuss the next steps. To prepare for that meeting, we'll send you what's called a readiness assessment, and Jeremiah will go into that in the next slide in a few moments. But the assessment is basically a multiple choice tool that helps us identify the highest priority services that we can offer to you. And then last, during our meeting, as we collaboratively determine what kind of support the Hub can offer you, we will work with our vetted bench of technical assistance provider to really assemble the type of technical assistance that your team needs, and we will work to coordinate the funds for these services as well. And with that, I'll hand it off to Jeremiah to talk about the readiness assessment.
I think Jeremiah froze. Here, I'm gonna let him pop off and reconnect. So here, I will uninvite him. All right. So Emily, if you want to go ahead to the next slide. And then Jeremiah, can you hear us?
Okay, am I back on? I apologize. I don't. Okay,
Yeah, you
okay,
are back on. Sorry.
okay. And so we're on project readiness, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So at the hub, we have this framework for trying to assist communities on making sure that they're ready for investment. And so our project readiness tool is an assessment that is a holistic examination of your project to see how ready you are for investment. So there's five buckets, right, that we are looking at: a purpose, impact, feasibility, governance, and funding. And across those five buckets, we ask 15 questions, right? Asking, uh, questions that are asking, or basic technical things like, is your project backed up by data? How much fundraising experience have your team conducted? Have you conducted any risk or feasibility assessments, right? And this tool is not specifically geared towards one grant or one program or one topic, but it aims to be holistic to look at what are some of the best pra- uh, criteria and practices that funders and and that funders are looking for in grants and projects on at the state and federal level. And so this was like the framework that we were trying to use and develop to help create a tool that will, you know, supercharge and turbocharge the investment of looking at, okay, these are the areas that you may need some more assistance on. These are the areas that you are excelling on. And so looking at those nuts and bolts understanding to be helpful to enable your project and your community to get the investment that you needed. So to make sure that we're overcoming any barriers or challenges that, as project planners, as a community, you may not be aware of, but are important to get the funding needed for your project. And I think I'll pass it over to Eric. Look at our impact.
Thanks, Jeremiah. So, we are a little over 1 years old. We were launched in February of 2024, but we are really excited with the impact that we've been able to make to date. A large majority of the requests and the support we provided to date have been around grant writing, assistance, review. And we are really excited to say that we've helped coordinate, support, or otherwise lead in the application of over $158 million. Sorry, I was just rechecking my math there. $158 million in grant applications, and we've already to date secured over $21.5 million. The support we've been able to provide has touched all 10 counties that we've served. And the issue areas have covered, a multitude of different areas from transportation planning to sewage line replacement to um, a myriad of different issue areas that I'm struggling to think of at this moment, but they cover many different topics. And this is something worth noting is that we don't have any hard rubrics into which types of projects we will or won't support. I think fundamentally we are here to support any project that works to support a thriving and healthy community. We are not in the business of supporting projects that are going to be hurting people and their quality of life, perpetuating or reinforcing disparities or inequities that communities already face. And if you have a question, if whether or not your project might align with our values or receive support from us, just please feel free to reach out to us. With
Yeah, and I
that,
think
next.
that's so important that you guys like really stick to your guns, like stick to your values so truly. Because, I feel like, some funders, they really are funding certain projects to feed off of their own MO. And, it's good to know that there are people that want to secure safe and healthy communities for everyone.
Mhm. Awesome. Next slide. I think we're on the slide for what folks are saying, correct?
Yep.
Awesome. just making sure. So what are folks saying? We just grabbed some testimonials here. Again, we kind of work at the nexus of several different kind of groups. We work directly with quote unquote our clients. So these are nonprofit leaders, these are municipal teams and elected officials, but we also work with contracted grant writers and technical assistance providers and other kind of regional intermediaries that provide similar and complementary work in our region. So, I think I won't read all of the quotes here, but I think in summary, I think people really value the holistic approach that we provide. We really, really think about this as an organic relationship that moves, again, as it was mentioned in my bio, at the speed of trust. We understand that people may have never had experience applying to a specific grant, to a specific program, and we're here to work with you through those steps and making sure that you feel confident that the next time that comes around, you might have the capacity and confidence to look in different directions for funding opportunities and reach out to us if you need any assistance along the way. And I think technical assistance providers, especially those that live and work locally and regionally, really appreciate doing projects and providing their expertise in things that are happening close to home. So yeah, and with that, we'll go to the next slide. So looking ahead, as you know, since November with the election and January with the inauguration of the new administration, things have been kind of uncertain, to say the least. I'll be very diplomatic with that. And so, despite a lot of shifting priorities and confusion sometimes, we are still here to support project teams who are on the ground. So we are going to continue to provide the no-cost technical assistance that you might need. We are going to continue to expand and deploy that readiness framework that Jeremiah mentioned. And we are also launching, coinciding with that, some workshops for communities to really think through that framework more intensively with their own sets of projects. We are always, always, always looking towards partnerships. And so, I think this is a good example of reaching out to our friends at Protect PT and other community organizations in the region that are, again, on the front lines, doing the great work and advocacy. We want to be here. We want to support you in whatever way, shape, or form you see possible. And then, we will always continue and more purposely try to uplift success in our region. As we mentioned about the persisting problems, about how fragmented our region often is, I think having those silos make it difficult to really tell success stories that people can feel inspired by and take as a best practice or a model for their own projects. And so we seek to, through newsletters, digital content, social media, word of mouth, to really make sure that people know about when there are wins in our region and how that win came to be so that people can feel confident in pursuing those opportunities as well. I think a big question mark that people have had and we continue to receive questions about is what does the funding outlook look like for 2025? The past few years, we've been fortunate to talk about different programs that were created or expanded through the Inflation Reduction Act and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. And with a lot of those things in flux, we are really, really prioritizing and putting a lot of focus on state level opportunities. So grant programs that are coming out of DCED, DCNR, DEP, still looking at, legacy grant programs and tax credits and the appropriations process federally, areas that seem to be pretty secure. Green bank lending programs. So these are CDFIs in the region and across the country who are providing really low to no interest loans to help jumpstart some really awesome infrastructure, energy efficiency projects for nonprofits and municipalities. And finally, supporting community benefits agreements. I think that is something that we always have to be mindful of. It is whenever we get into projects in which there are, stakeholders and institutions and different interests kind of converging, it's important to make sure that through that process, we are centering communities, the needs that they want, the kind of value capture that we can help achieve so that, when amazing economic development projects are happening, for example, people who are closest to those projects are reaping the benefits. And with that, we'll go to the next slide, which is staying in touch. So we hope that this is just, a first of many conversations that we could have with, folks at Protect PT, friends of Protect PT, anybody and everybody. So our emails are there. Feel free to contact us with any questions that you might have. We are on LinkedIn, we are on Instagram, we are on Facebook. Feel free to follow us. And feel free to go to our website, specifically sign up so that you can get our monthly newsletter straight to your inbox, What's the Hub Up, which kind of gives you a good roundup of funding opportunities, upcoming events, updates that we might have as a team as it relates to things happening federally, statewide, locally, and what have you. And I'm sure we could drop some of those links into the chat as well. And with that, I think that's all of our prepared presentation remarks, and we're really happy to open it up for any questions, comments, concerns, hopes, dreams.
Yeah, I want to thank you both for taking time to present all this wonderful information. It sounds like you guys can really be a big help to some of these communities, especially our communities here in Westmoreland and Allegheny County. And so, yeah, I just want to open the floor to any of our viewers right now to feel free to ask any questions they might have. So I'll allow a little space for that. In the meantime, I did want to ask just like about some of your past projects, if there were any of like any that you find like yourself going back to thinking fondly of, any of your favorites. What are some examples?
Yeah, I would say one project that comes to mind was we helped support a joint application to the Department of Transportation's Reconnecting Communities grant program, which was a grant program that was made possible, I believe, by the bipartisan infrastructure law that really helps to seek to remediate some of the kind of historical injustices that were done on to neighborhoods and communities across the country through transportation infrastructure. So I'm sure many people have seen those images, past and present, of highways literally cutting neighborhoods apart, freeways, just roads that really make it really unsafe, difficult to really, uplift connectivity and other forms of mobility. And so we were able to connect with two council of governments, the Turtle Creek Valley Council of Governments and the Steel River Council of Government. And we were able to put in a successful application for a planning grant that really looks to really connect some of the historic boroughs in the region, in that part of the region. And, I think this gets at the heart of what I find to be the most successful or some of the most rewarding work is, oftentimes communities that face really, 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 really deep critical capacity gaps often need the resources to get some of that planning and ideation and design support out of the way. It's almost impossible to go from an idea to breaking ground on a really cool stormwater project or solar project or what have you. It takes time, and many of these communities weren't afforded the resources and time, often by design, to do that. And so, whenever we have the opportunity to provide those types of planning and technical assistance grants or help these communities secure that, I think that gives me really great hope that even if funding opportunities come and go in terms of implementing an idea, if you could have the resources to have that plan so that you keep it in your back pocket so that when that opportunity does strike, whether that's a federal grant program, a state loan program, some sort of foundation program, you can bite quickly. You could be nimble and responsive. So I would say that's probably one project that really comes to mind for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. What about you, Jeremiah? Do you have any that really struck a chord with you?
Yeah, well, I want to second the Reconnecting Communities grant. We know that that foundational work is needed for any grant, like Eric was saying, and it may seem a little bit kind of like, well, we're still in the preparatory stages, but we got to keep in mind that laying that strong foundation will make projects successful when the community is ready for implementation. And so I just wanted to second the Reconnecting Communities grant. It was a great effort. A lot of the effort before I would join the hub staff, but still want to, give a lot of kudos to the hub and the Council for Governments for winning such a great grant. So that's like our baby so far.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, like, I like your point about like you guys kind of are that like strong foundation for a lot of communities. It's kind of like building a house of cards. Like, you
Hmm.
can't really have success or build high up if you're not starting out strong. So you guys really do enable a lot of communities to do really good work. Um, Looks like I have one comment here. Let me pop it in. Um, so I have one question here. Looks like I'm with the Plum Democratic Party, and I have municipal elections this year. And I was wondering if there are any grants available that could help seniors in the area, perhaps putting solar panels on houses or something similar.
It's a good question. So the short answer is yes. Um, there are several opportunities that are in the pipeline. And, to be completely transparent, these are opportunities that are actively being worked out in terms of the state receiving the funds. The governor just announced yesterday that I believe the $2.1 billion dollars that was frozen in federal awards to the state have been unfrozen. And so I believe that some of the programs that might be a part of that are projects such as Solar for All, the Here and Her program. These are kind of individual rebate programs that encourage homeowners and residents to really make much needed upgrades to their homes. That could look like a solar panel on top, but that could also look like a geothermal heat pump or some other sort of low energy or energy efficient installation in your house. We know that oftentimes when new technologies are being deployed, the costs to implement and install them are high. And so these programs were created, especially Solar for All, for low to moderate income folks. So oftentimes our older community members often face some of those socioeconomic barriers in accessing funds to make much needed upgrades. We are hopeful that some lending programs could become available from local CDFIs that will again further help support the implementation of alternative energy sources for individual residents, but also communities at large. This kind of gets back to maybe another success project that I just remembered, but we help support 8 municipalities in the region access funding from the state for what was called the Municipal Opportunities for Retrofits and Energy Efficiency more. So this was money to help plan and set up some initial feasibility for installing energy efficiency measures for municipally owned facilities. And oftentimes we see that as a really good spark to inspire communities to see, if the leadership, if community centers, churches, houses of worship, if the police department's building, if the fire department's building, if they could do it, if they could show their neighbors that this is a secure, cost effective great way to go about accessing and leveraging these resources. I think that does have a trickling effect towards residents and other kind of sectors as well. So the short answer is yes, there are. Definitely stay in touch with us though, because these are literally day by day. We're kind of scratching the surface of latest updates on whether or not those funds are available yet on the state level, whether or not there might be pending litigation or not. So unfortunately, that's the state of affairs with many of these programs right now. With the actions through the executive orders, a lot of things are kind of in a holding pattern, but we are hopeful that some of these will open up soon.
Mhm.
Yeah, thanks for that, guys. So let me see if I have any other questions. I also have another question. So obviously, funding is one half of this issue, right? Trying to get these projects to happen. But I believe, and this is just from like kind of a organizational perspective, but getting the will for community to want to do these projects is the other half of the battle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How would you say is the best way for, just your regular typical community member to go about, bringing this to their city council's attention or, any like public figure's attention?
Definitely, definitely. One of the things that I would encourage people to do is kind of look back on our readiness framework. Jeremiah did a great job discussing those 5 criteria. And I think really anchoring your idea, your form of advocacy, your specific project idea around those 5 criteria really, really helps cut through the weeds of whether or not we should or shouldn't, whether or not we can or can't. Sometimes we can't be in the heads of everybody about what compels certain interests to happen or not. But if you can make the economic case, the case that this is backed up by data, the case that this project idea, for example, is the culmination of years of community organizing, community engagement. If you could point to that, that just makes it really difficult for there to be, especially in terms of local decision makers, to say no to. If you have the data, you have the evidence. Um, I'd say in my experience being in this role for about a year, it works more often than not. If you could pay mind to those kind of 5 criteria of making sure that people know um, that there's a will on the community side, and oftentimes it takes that kind of really respectful pressure from community members and organizations to do that work. And we're here to help facilitate those conversations as well if it gets into the weeds of the ins and outs of what from a project might make a local council member not ready. It might be the costs. It might be whether or not it could be followed through on. Maybe they have war flashbacks to a project from years past that didn't happen because there wasn't enough capacity or support. And so we're really here to triage and assess, where those bottlenecks are, where those pressure points are.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah,
That's all really great information. Jeremiah, did you have something to add there?
yeah, I will add briefly, stressing the economic case, but also, you know, we have this readiness framework that Eric was referencing that really looks at the nuts and bolts of how a project comes about. So, if trying to focus on those aspects of clarifying its purpose, talking about its impact, how are you actually the feasibility of it, how are you going to govern the project and oversee it, and how you're going to fund it. I think that can really make the case, right, and be able to convince the elected official or whatnot to really consider your idea and consider the benefits of pursuing any project you might have. So um, I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, I definitely think it is as well. And I think another like layer to trying to get projects like these off the ground is that you have to have like a certain amount of like hope and willpower for it. So you can't let yourself get beaten down by certain admins and whatnot. You just gotta keep pushing. Looks like we have another comment from a viewer from Andrea Spleth Connors. My son has autism, and I'm interested in grants to provide emotional support in school. Are you aware of anything that may help that may be help for the Penn Trafford School District?
Awesome. Well, nothing immediately comes to mind, and I think in terms of our work on the hub side, um, we're here for a wide range of project ideas and support. Whenever it goes more towards the human services, social services, or general operational stuff, that's when we generally make referrals. I think for us as a team of five with a growing technical assistance team, a lot of our expertise and focus is on sustainability, climate resilience, economic development, community development. But we definitely don't want to give anybody any firm no's that nothing exists. We have and are growing really great relationships with leads in different state departments or state level agencies and departments, and other, again, regional intermediaries and nonprofits. So if you do have a question that we cannot necessarily address in house or provide support for, we can help refer you to partners that might. So if you do have that question, feel free to email us and we'll help redirect you. But yeah, we don't typically do much work in the human services, social services, general programmatic space. We're more kind of project based. We do a lot of work on infrastructure projects, climate resilience projects, environmental projects.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, and that's all good info, but seems like you both are pretty well connected. So yeah, again, you know, Andrea, if you have questions, they might be able to point you in the right direction. So their emails are there. Um, yeah, if there are any other questions from any viewers, uh, speak now or forever hold your peace. All right, so looks like comments have kind of come to a halt. So I think we are all good to wrap things up today. I want to thank you both for your time today and for all the wonderful information that you both have presented for us. And yeah, thank you again for joining us. I just want to mention that our next Lunch and Learn will be on Tuesday, March 25th, 12 p.m., same time, same place. This time we will be streaming on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. So yeah, look out for that. We will be having a lunch and learn with Harry Campbell from the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, and we'll be discussing the effects of road salt on our waterways, as well as touching on road spreading's effect on our waterways as well. So if that interests you, stay tuned. And also, if you are a viewer and would like to take a moment to go ahead and fill out our Lunch and Learn survey, that would be very helpful. That helps us improve on anything that we've presented today, and we take suggestions as well for topics you might want to see. So go ahead and fill that out. And once again, I just want to thank Eric and Jeremiah. You all have been a pleasure to work and discuss with. And yeah, so everyone have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Natalie and Protect PT. We appreciate the opportunity.
Bye, everyone.